Arsenal have been so good. Like I think the golfing quality is actually highlighted more by those who don't win the league. I think. And the reason is because if you win the league, you are the standard. You are the best. So you can't really compare the golfing quality if you're looking at the best versus the worst. Because obviously the best and the worst is going to be big no matter what, right? It's about who's not quite the best but still very good and who's not quite the worst but still quite bad. Arsenal are probably going to finish on 90 points. And they didn't win the league. And they're still not good enough. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Two Foot Attacker podcast. I'm your host, Ari Stamatakos. We're back again, and we're here again for another week. Hope everyone's well, as always. As always, I hope everyone's well. I hope everyone has enjoyed their week since we last spoke. Their weekend as well. I hope all the sporting teams won, and midweek as well. There was some midweek football, midweek football on a couple of days. So I hope your teams won in that regard, unless you obviously support Brentford. I think Chelsea versus Brentford anyway. Then yeah, I hope you're not that happy. Because you certainly made my morning miserable. So thanks for that. And Chelsea didn't play on the weekend technically, so I got to have my birthday weekend relatively stress free of any Chelsea related shit, which seems to be on the regular these days. And we're actually going to speak about them a little bit more later on, as Despite we're getting to the back end of the season, there's not a lot to speak about rather than just rehashing old stuff. Not a lot happened. So we'll just go through the motions as we always do, and as we'll forever do as we'll forever do until I stop doing this. But hope everyone's well. First and foremost. Let's crack in. Enough of the stalling. As I said, it was my birthday weekend, so I'm now 19. So I'm now officially not I'm still technically I'm a teenager, but I don't think the child claims can be used anymore. So, but they probably still will be. So there you go. But yeah, I'm glad Chelsea didn't ruin my birthday weekend. It was nice and chill. I didn't have to worry about my football team being shit. So there you go. And obviously Victory played, but that football club has made me numb too long ago, so it doesn't really matter. So we're going to be touching on quite a few things today. Title race chat, of course. We're going to speak on Tottenham again because they're just so funny. They're just so funny. Touching Chelsea, touching on a couple of other things as well, which I forgot to memorise, and they're actually on my run sheet. So bear with for uno momento. We're going to touch on Leeds, touch on Brighton, and we'll finish up with some A-League chat as the finals get underway. And there you go. So let's start. Actually, before we start, make sure you subscribe to the Two Foot Attacker podcast. Of course, 5 subscribers away from 400. That'd be glorious. That'd be good. Tick it off. Another milestone ticked off. Another vanity metric ticked off. But it would mean the world. And then, of course, TikTok and Instagram, Two Foot Attacker podcast, TFTPod on Twitter. Audio platforms, Anchor, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify. That's the one. And it is. What's the other bit that I need to say? I forgot. Oh yeah, link in the bio of the Twitter and Instagram for all your Two Foot Attacker podcast needs. Done. Wrapped up. One of my better plugging episode sessions. Anyway, let's start. And as we always start, we'll be touching on the title race. And this may be the last episode in which I start with the title race chat. And this may be the last time I start this title race chat, or I start the podcast with the title race chat, because is it all but done? Is it done? Have City got it underway? It is really disappointing from a neutral perspective. But Arsenal fell, or City triumphed in the Premier League final, in a sense. Not really, but almost. 4-1 in devastating fashion, and it was just Yeah. Like you need to look at it from three perspectives. From an Arsenal perspective, from a neutral's perspective, and a City perspective, and then you can look at it holistically. Um, Obviously, that result put City. What was it? 4 points behind. No, 2 points behind. What was it? Well, I should probably have probably should have actually realised this. Yeah, so that put them 2 points behind with 2 games in hand. Obviously, they won their one game in hand over Fulham, which puts them 1 point clear with a game in hand. So in their game in hand, they're two results clear of Arsenal with 6 games to go. I like look, it's done, right? It's done. It's done. It's game over. It's season over. It's they've done it. And like, let's speak about the game, and then we'll speak about what happened, like holistically, right? I woke up. I woke up and I watched the game over the Chelsea game, right? Because once again, I don't want to subject myself to that pain. I don't want to subject myself to that kind of um, that pain of watching Chelsea when I can watch a Premier League final essentially. So I woke up and actually watched the Arsenal City game, and it was like I'm hearing. I heard obviously Arsenal kind of Spurs. We'll speak about them later, but Spurs fans obviously have a big connection to this game, obviously, naturally, more than anyone else. And I've heard from a lot of Spurs fans they were nervous pre-game. They were like, "Fuck, if Arsenal win, they've got it," and they're really stressing. And then as soon as the first minute goes by, they're like, "Oh, no worries, we're fine. They're not winning this." And it felt like that. It really did. It was it was a just yeah, they won. And you just knew they were going to win from the first minute. City were just on form, like on fire from the first minute. It was the biggest gap in quality in a kind of must-win title-defining game I've ever seen. In a game of that magnitude and in a game with that many stakes, it was the biggest gap in quality. The biggest gap in quality I think I've ever seen. You were like like it started early. Obviously, that penalty shout. That penalty shout was there. I think Arsenal got away with one, and then it was within a matter of minutes. It was long ball up, Haaland down to De Bruyne, who fancy footwork finds a yard of space, hits it hard and low near post and scores. And you're like, "Yep, that's it, game done." From that moment, it was like, "There's no way Arsenal are winning. There's no way Arsenal are scoring two. There's no way Arsenal is scoring two without City scoring again at the Etihad." It just wasn't happening. Arsenal needed to get off to a good start, and they didn't, and that was pretty much the game, right? And it was pretty much the game from there. What I didn't expect, what I didn't expect. I should probably say what I expected first. I expected City to dominate the game. I did naturally, right? It was at their home ground. They had the ones with a little bit more of an emphasis to win. And because even a draw was a not bad result for Arsenal. And obviously they're the side that has the onus and the pressure, naturally. So I expected them to dominate. I expected them to come out as the better team. But I didn't expect it to be that big. I didn't expect the discrepancy to be that big. Like, it was literally men against boys. It was literally men against boys from the first minute. And you could tell as I bring up some stats quickly here. It was literally men against boys, right? And obviously it went 1-0 De Bruyne inside 7 minutes. And despite it not being 2-0 again until the 45th, they would never look likely. Really never, ever look likely. Like in the first half, as I'm still bringing up stats because my phone's a bit slow. But they never looked likely despite it only being 1-0 up until the 46th minute. But I mean, 70% possession, 8 shots to 60% possession to 4, 8 shots on target to 2, 8 shots to 2, 6 shots on target to none, 2 big chances created to 0, 7 shots inside the box to 1, 280 passes to 184. Like it was a clear and utter just demolition job from the opening bounce, and I am kind of disappointed from two perspectives. I'm disappointed in Arsenal, and I'm disappointed. So I'm disappointed at the game. obviously because the spectacle was ruined within 10 minutes. And I'm disappointed in Arsenal because I thought a lot better of them, right? But anyway, obviously second goal comes, ball gets crossed into the back post, Stones header, goal. It gets ruled out for offside initially. Does it? Yeah, it gets ruled out offside initially, and then it stands. And I don't want to harp on this too much because it's going to be practically a week when this comes out, right? So I'm not going to speak about this game too much. I say that. I've spoken about it for about 10 minutes. But the fact that goal was given onside is a farce, right? And I know you can say, yeah, he's onside. To the letter of the law, sure, he's onside. Fine, I get it. He's onside. But that's not football. That's not football. I don't know how to describe it. It's such an intangible thing, but that is not football. Like, to its core, it's not football. Where do we draw the line? Where do we draw the line between kind of having human error? And I've discussed this plenty of times before. VAR, the only thing VAR does is increase the amount of human error in the game, so it really does nothing. But where do we draw the line between removing human error and becoming robots, right? So, obviously, I don't know where that line is. My opinions are pretty obvious based on, you can probably tell what my opinions are. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to find out and to figure out that I despise VAR with all my being. But, goal stood. He's offside. John Stones is offside. I don't care what the lines say. I don't care. He's offside. He's offside. And I felt like that was a robbery. Obviously, 2-0 was probably the fair enough scoreline. But regardless, I felt like that decision was a robbery. They go in 2-0 and that kills the game. Because even if you go down one, even if you're Arsenal and you're Mikel Arteta, you're 1-0 down at half time, you haven't been playing well, you've been killed all game, but you're only 1-0 down. One goal, one moment, one set piece, one moment of brilliance, one mistake, bang, you're back in the game, right? So to have that happen, go down 2-0, that killed the game right there, right? And Arsenal needed to start really well in the second half to even be given a sniff. And I think it was the 54th minute, the third goal came, and that killed the game. Yeah, 54th minute, De Bruyne again. Are you all that surprised? He was exceptional on the day, and he was exceptional on the day, and was kind of a microcosm in a sense of what Arsenal and City are. He's just, the quality is just way too strong. He's ridiculously good, and the conversation now has to move to where does he rank when in terms of all-time Premier League, not only midfielders, but all-time Premier League players, because he's going to win another Premier League title, and he's potentially going to win a Champions League. He is definitely up there, especially in midfielders chat, but when you're talking about all-time Premier League players, I think before the season he was in the top 10. I think now, if he's not in the top 5, I'd love to see who the 5 are, because he is right up there for me. And one more Premier League trophy, which is almost inevitable, I think, kind of puts his name in that top 5 and entrenched in that top 5. Obviously, the likes of Henry are there, Shearer, these type of players, Rooney, Aguero, Salah, Ronaldo, I get it. But he's stupidly good. He's stupidly good. And, I had my doubts even. Not doubts, but I maybe wasn't even overrating him, underrating him. I just didn't think as highly of what a lot of other people thought of him pre-season. But what are his stats actually? But I mean, when you're talking big games, this was the biggest game and he stood up big time. 7 goals and 16 assists. 7 goals and 16 assists in 29 games. Last year he got 15 goals and 8, 6 and 12, 13 and 20, and then obviously played 11 games the year before that, and then from his last 2, so from his 2 full seasons of Premier League football, basically, he got 6 goals and 18, 8 goals and 16, and then 13 and 20. And then assuming this year is pretty much a full year, he's got at least right now 7 and 16. Just really, just stupidly good. But anyway, third goal goes in. Holding scores pretty good goal, which fair enough. And then obviously Haaland scores with his hair down to take the piss even more and make a 4-1 game set match. The league all but wrapped up, and of course the league was practically kind of assured and locked away. A couple of days later, where City, I assume they would have stayed in London probably, travelled to West London to Craven Cottage and won 2-1 against Fulham to put them 1 point clear with the game in hand. After that game in hand, they should be 4 points clear with 6 games to go. Game done. Season done. Dream done. That's it. And I didn't want to be here. I really didn't, because now it's a formality. Now I will be interested, and you never know what can happen, right? You really don't. But I'd be shocked. I can say right now they're not winning the league. They're not losing the league right now. City have got it done. At least they've got it done. They are so experienced, so well drilled, know exactly what they need to do, and above all else, the quality is unmatched to any other football team in the world. Like, unmatched. When you have Erling Haaland doing what he's doing, when you have De Bruyne in the form that he's in, when you have Foden, Mahrez, Grealish, Gundogan, Alvarez, like, what are we doing here? Type of thing, you know what I mean? I think a lot of people kind of, I wouldn't say they silenced the haters or the doubters. I think that's a little bit unfair. Or maybe not unfair, but I don't think they were doubters as such, because I don't think at any point this season, well, I certainly didn't. I don't think I doubted Man City's ability to win the league. I don't think I ever did that. If I did, then please quote me into where I said this and I'll retreat. But I don't think I ever doubted Man City's ability to win the league. I just was so assured in Arsenal's ability to win the league that I was like, yeah, City are just going to be good, but Arsenal are going to be better. It was never a case of City will be bad, Arsenal will be good, hence Arsenal will win the league. It was always Arsenal will just be better than a very, very, very good Man City. And subsequently Arsenal win the league. But obviously I was proven to be wrong because okay, now I think this moves on to the question of what was this? Was this City being good or Arsenal being bad? Because I think it's a good conversation either way, right? I think it's a great conversation either way, because if we look here at the table, you have 33 games, 24. So you have 32 games, 24 wins, 4 draws, 4 losses. Arsenal, 33 games, 23 wins, 6 draws, 4 losses. A plus 54 goal difference for Man City, a plus 40 goal difference for Arsenal, which is still stupidly good. Like, it's still really, really good. They both would have, assuming both teams go on to win their remaining games, we'll just use that for argument's sake. It's both teams have lost 4 games. Both teams would have won over 30 games throughout the season. Oh no, both teams would have won at least 29 games throughout the season. Like, that is a lot. So obviously they've what? There's 6 games to go. 6 games to go. No, 5 games to go. I can't do maths. 5 games to go. There's 5 games to go. 28 wins if Arsenal win all 4. That's 5 times 3 is 15. They would end on 90 points. Arsenal would end on 90 points if they win all the remaining games. If you were told Arsenal would end on 90 points, you'd say they win the league 9 times out of 10. It's just that we're in an era. I mean, if you finish on 90 points, if I told you 5 years ago Arsenal would finish on 90 points this season, not only would you think they win the league this year, you would have thought they would have won the league 3 years on the bounce, because that never used to happen, right? Never used to happen consecutively anyway. But with the way football's played now, and the way the Premier League is, full stop or comma even, the standards have been lifted. Like, the gap now, you can say anyone can beat anyone on any given day, and I would agree. Because we saw Southampton drew to Arsenal, right? And Southampton were 3-1 up with, 7 minutes to go, right? So anyone can beat anyone. I agree with that statement. But over a sustained period of time, the gulf in class and the gulf in quality is too big. And I think this is shown, because Arsenal have been so good. Like, I think the gulf in quality is actually highlighted more by those who don't win the league. I think. And the reason is because if you win the league, you are the standard. You are the best. So you can't really compare the golf in quality if you're looking at the best versus the worst. Because obviously the best and the worst is going to be big no matter what, right? It's about who's not quite the best but still very good and who's not quite the worst but still quite bad. Arsenal are probably going to finish on 90 points, right? 90 points. They would have won 28 games of their 38, right? That's right, isn't it? Yeah, 28 games of their 38, and they would have lost 4 games all year, assuming they win every game, right? They probably would finish on at least a plus 50 goal difference, you'd think. They would accumulate a plus 10 goal difference over these 6 games, more than likely. Over these 5 games. That is, and they didn't win the league. And they're still not good enough. So imagine a team like Bournemouth, or if it be Chelsea, who would have won 13 games all year and lost 20 or whatever. Imagine how big of a gap they need to catch up to in order to not win the league, in order to just get to second. I think this highlights the golf in quality is stupid, right? Because to be so good and not win the league, it's almost like, what's the point? Because you need to be perfect. You need to be perfect. You absolutely need to be perfect. What's perfection, right? In the league. Because City haven't been perfect this year. City have been fallible. We've seen they've been fallible. Like some of the games that they've dropped points in. If we bring them up. They've obviously dropped points in 8 games this season in the league. They drew to Forest away. They lost to Spurs. They lost to United. They drew to Everton. Who are probably going to go down. They lost to Brentford. They lost to Liverpool. They drew to Villa. Like, I think the astonishing one there is Everton as well. But I mean the Brentford loss is quite something as well. Granted, that came in, I wouldn't say dubious circumstances, but it was a 98th minute goal, right? From Tony. So, like, I think obviously the definition of perfection, right? I assume. Let's bring up the definition of perfection. Shall we? I love a definition. I do love a definition, right? Okay. So perfection. The state or quality of being perfect. Or another definition, the action or process of improving something until it is faultless. Would you describe Man City as faultless? I think maybe when it counts, you could say they're faultless. Maybe when it matters, they're faultless, and they know what to do at the right times. Which in a competition or in a kind of realm of, I don't know, it's weird. I don't know. It's a good question because it's not like points are worth more based on where you are in the season. It's not like in the first 10 games winning a game is worth 1 point, and in the last 5 games winning a game is worth 4. They're all worth 3 games they're all worth 3 points throughout the season. So it's almost like there's no such thing as peaking at the right time, if that makes sense, because everything's worth the same, right? So you can't, like, I describe this, it's prevalent a lot in footy, but I'll use basketball, which is probably a more popular sport. It's obviously a more popular sport, but it's still got the same realm of a final series, right? In basketball, if you peak in the first half of the season and then you tail off towards the end, that obviously is not good because you have to play a final series, and that final series, in theory, is worth more than the regular season games because they're worth different things, right? In the same way that in footy, if you win your first 10 games in footy, but you lose your last 10, and then you lose your last 12, you don't make the finals, right? Or you lose your last 13, you don't make finals. But in the Premier League, whereas if you win your... Sorry, I actually described that wrong. If you win your first 10 and then win 2 games for the rest of the season and then you make finals, the likelihood is you're not going to perform that well in finals because you've peaked too early and you're on a downward slide. you're not as good as what the early part of your season was, right? And I'm a Carlton supporter. I know how that feels like, right? Whereas in football, it doesn't matter where you win your games as long as you win them. And I feel like Arsenal have been, on a whole, probably better than Man City throughout the year. But Man City have peaked at the right time. But as we've established, there's no such thing as peaking at the right time because all points are worth the same. And there's no finals, there's no playoffs, there's no motive to be better at the end of the season or in a certain part of the season in comparison to another part of the season. Which is quite an interesting topic to kind of delve into, because I saw this tweet saying that Arsenal peaked too early, which kind of sparked my interest in the thought process of what is actually peaking too early when all points are worth the same, and there is no finals or playoffs to contend for, and there's no kind of, I don't know, because would Arsenal have rather have been in the position of, I don't know, I think this is a good question, and it speaks on peaking too early. Would you rather be 10 points clear and on a downward slide, or 10 points behind but on an upwards trajectory? I'm fascinated by the results. If I might actually put that as a poll on Twitter, I might do that. Would you rather be 10 points up would you rather be 10 points clear with 10 games to go, but on a downward slide, so you're out of form, your team's not playing that well, or would you rather be 10 points behind, assuming first and second, and then on an upward trajectory? It's all about mentality, though, isn't it? It's all about mentality at the end of the day, and it's also about your team's composition as well. I think Liverpool, for example, perform well when they're the underdogs. So being 10 points behind for Liverpool, for a team like Liverpool at least, probably works. Whereas a team like Arsenal, or maybe Arsenal are in a quite similar position. But you're probably looking at a more experienced team. So I reckon Man City are a team that if they're 10 points in front and they're on a downward slide, they can fix themselves and go again type thing. Whereas like a squad like Chelsea, who are mentally fragile, for example, probably need that confidence. But yeah, I mean, we've kind of moved off topic as I always do. But getting back on track. Man City, they're good. Let's round up by speaking on both City and Arsenal, because the league's done, right? The league's done. The league is finished, right? The league is finished. I'm really annoyed. Last year we had a great finish to the season. Went all the way to the final day. I'd be shocked. If this went all the way to the final day. I really would be surprised. City's games remaining. West Ham at home should win that. Leeds at home, that has 10-0 written all over it. Everton away, Jesus. Chelsea at home, which has 10-0 written all over it as well. Brighton away, which is tougher than Brentford away to finish the season, with 2 legs against Real Madrid. In and amongst those, and potentially a Champions League final at the end of it. Arsenal, of course, have a tough run. They've got Chelsea at home on Wednesday. This will go out a couple of hours before that game. This will go out 11 hours before that game. Chelsea are winning that game. Chelsea are winning that game and putting the knife in the coffin. Or putting the nail in the coffin, putting the knife in the heart. Game over. As much as we're going to speak on Chelsea. Trust me, we'll speak on Chelsea. A Chelsea side managed by Frank Lampard going away to the Emirates to put the nail in the coffin for Arsenal's title hopes. It's the purest form of footballing cruelty. The purest form of footballing cruelty is Chelsea beating Arsenal. Of all games for Chelsea to win. Chelsea have. I mean, is this a good transition into speaking about Chelsea? I think it might be. Actually, no, it's not. We'll speak about them later on. But Chelsea haven't won a game since the 12th of March. Chelsea have conceded at least 2 goals in their last 4 games. Have scored 1 goal in their last 7. Chelsea are beating Arsenal. Absolutely, Chelsea are beating Arsenal. This is not even me coming from a Chelsea supporter's perspective. This is me coming from a person who is a little bit obsessed with footballing stories and narratives and kind of the cruel nature of football, especially at the highest level. Football has no fairy tales. Football has no fairy tales, right? It doesn't exist. There's one in a million. For every Leicester win the Premier League, there's Steven Gerrard slipping. For every Greece winning the Euros, there's Ronaldo getting injured in the European Championship final. I know they still won the trophy, but you know what I mean, right? There's always a heartbreak to kind of match. There's always a heartbreak to match the kind of, you know what I mean, to match the dream, in a sense. I don't know. So this is just going to be another list of heartbreaks for the football kind of perspective of things, right? Because obviously Arsenal are the fairy tale in this scenario. Looking at it from a purely neutral perspective, Arsenal are the fairy tale. But if you're a Chelsea, West Ham, Spurs, if you hate Arsenal, you'd disagree. But as much as I hate Arsenal, I would have preferred them seeing them win the Ligue of Serie A. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'd be shocked if it does. And I can guarantee you right now, Arsenal are beating Chelsea, or Chelsea are beating Arsenal even. And it's going to be the most stupid win you're ever going to see. It's going to be 1-0, 96th minute. Benoit Badia shield goal, or Cesar Azpilicueta flick on at the near post, or a Matej Kovacic goal, or a Kante goal, or a Conor Gallagher goal. It's not going to come from anyone who's meant to score, even though Chelsea don't score. So I don't even know who Chelsea's players are meant to be scoring, right? But yeah, and it's going to be the final nail in the coffin. City don't play midweek, do they? I don't think City play midweek. We're the only game on Wednesday morning, aren't we? I think we might be. Wednesday the 3rd. Yeah, we are. Oh, City do play midweek. We're going to win on Wednesday. City going to beat West Ham 5-0 at home on the Thursday morning. Title done. Knife in sternum. And I'm going to come here next Monday and have fuck all to speak about. Sick. Can't wait. Why'd I put my faith in Arsenal to kind of give me content? I mean, granted, this is content. It is quite funny. Can they finish lower than second? Can they... They're 10 points. They can. They really can. Can they finish outside the top 4? No. I'd be shocked if they finish outside the top 4. 12 points. No. It's one step too far, unfortunately. But yeah. Thanks, Arsenal, for giving me content. Not the content I wanted. I really wanted to speak about Arsenal beating Man City 3-0, like I predicted. But of course they didn't. Why would they? Why would Arsenal be good when it matters? But why does it matter now? That's what we went back to. What is peaking at the right time? Anyway, that's a conversation for a different day, and I could probably spend 3 hours speaking about obscure kind of theoretical football topics like what is footballing perfection, for hours, right? Because I'm a nerd like that. But I'll save it because we're touching on 33 minutes. And I say that, we don't have a lot to speak about, but I've got quite a few topics in which I want to speak about briefly. So let's move on from the title race chat. And let's move on. So I've got 5 more points technically, but 4 more Premier League points written down. One of them is, the next one I'm going to speak about is Tottenham fucking lol. Surely it should be fucking Tottenham lol, shouldn't it? But let's speak about Spurs again. We're going to speak about Spurs. Spurs are the funniest. They have to be the funniest football club in the world, right? Like from a neutral's perspective, I can't think of a football club that provides more entertainment than the Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, because what they did against Liverpool is the most entertaining thing, honestly. It is like I genuinely, let's bring the mic closer. I didn't think it could get kind of better than what it did when when they went to Tyneside, when they went to the Northeast and got humiliated 6-1. I didn't think it could get better until they went to the Northwest. Went 3-0 down inside 20 minutes. Came back to equalise 3-3 in the 95th minute with Richarlison, a former Everton player, scoring at Anfield his first Premier League goal for Tottenham, subsequently taking his top off, celebrating in the crowd, shushing Anfield and doing a pigeon dance, only to concede literally 30 seconds later and lose the game 4-3. Is there anything more Tottenham than that? Honestly. Like, they are the funniest football club in the world. Always count on them to lift your mood, because there's something about this club which part of me despises it. Like, part of me despises it a lot. Part of me, as my arm's getting sore, so I'll move the mic back to its normal position. I might move forward. Part of me thinks the football club's not real. Like, part of me actually thinks they're a plant put there by the Premier League to make everyone else feel better about themselves. I don't see a realm in which they're a real football club. How can you do that to your supporters? How can you make your supporters travel, I don't know how far, a couple of hours, to the northwest of England, to Liverpool, to a ground in which you haven't had that much success over recent years? I don't think so anyway. Against a team that has almost had your number, I think anyway, or a team that at least has the capability of destroying you, coming off the back of a 6-1 loss away at Newcastle. Your team, your club, does this to your supporters. They go 3-0 down inside 20 minutes. And they bring it back. There's one. Goal from Harry Kane. Good finish. Then, oh my God, ball in behind. Son, 3-2. We're on. Ball clipped in. Richarlison gets a flick on. Over Alisson's head. 3-3. We've done it. Equalised at the death. Richarlison, he cost 50 million. We think he's fucking brilliant, etc. Right? First Premier League goal. Scenes. Glorious scene. Beautiful scenes of glorious emotion. Until literally 30 seconds late. Like I'm not exaggerating. It was off kickoff. It was 30 game seconds later. Lucas Moura, who provided Spurs supporters with the happiest day of their lives in Amsterdam, can't pass a football. Diogo Jota picks it up and scores past Fraser Forster because captain Hugo Lloris got dropped, I think, unless he's injured, I don't know. And it's 4-3 in front of the cop, and it was so funny. So funny. Like this game was on at 1:30 in the morning, right? In Australia time. I had uni today, so I had uni the next day. I watched like the first 30 minutes, 3-0. I saw the goal like through very, very tired eyes. I was like, oh, it's 3-1. It got to halftime. I closed my laptop. I was like, can't bother with this shit anymore. I woke up and I saw 4-3. I was like, sorry, what? I expected it to be like, oh yeah, Liverpool scored a fourth, and then they just kind of put the foot off the gas, conceded a goal like the 99th minute or whatever, and there wasn't really too much issue or drama. No. It was the most drama-filled 4-3 you could ever imagine. Yeah, that football club, hey. Not only did they so this is what. So in the space of me starting this podcast, they've I mean, okay, let's just pretend I started this. So from the start of last season, more probably apt. This time 2 years ago, in the space of 2 years practically, they've sacked Jose Mourinho. Was that 2 years ago? It was, wasn't it? That was League Cup 2021, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. They sacked Jose Mourinho. Bring in Ryan Mason. Sack Ryan Mason, bring in Nuno. Sack Nuno, bring in Conte. Sack Conte, bring in Stellini. Sack Stellini, bring in Ryan Mason again. They've gone through 6 managers. They've not won a trophy. They've made 1 final. And they've made top 4 once. Once in that time, I think. What a football club. What a football club. Oh, I love them. I actually love them. Like, I never thought I'd say the Tottenham Hotspur Football Club actually bring me so much joy. So much joy because of how utterly dog shit they are. Ah, and I'll say what the best part is. The best part is that I prefer my rivals to be good enough for their failures to actually mean something. So, like, I don't know, Fulham or QPR, right? Technically Chelsea's closest rivals. They're floating around the championship. They're in League One. Who really gives a shit about them, right? If Spurs got relegated this year and then spent the next 2 decades in the championship or in League One and floating outside of the Premier League, my son or my kids even, who will probably be Chelsea supporters, they won't give a shit about Spurs because they're a rival, but they suck, right? Whereas Spurs and Arsenal have been like challenging Chelsea, especially in recent times, have been challenging them quite fiercely, right? They've been the better of them. They've lost to them, drawn a couple of big results, a couple of finals, etc., right? So all the mini failures that those two sides have are just amplified tenfold because they should be good. Like Spurs should be good with the players at their disposal and the facilities and the funds and the managers that they've had. They should be really good. Same thing with Arsenal, right? Arsenal a couple of seasons ago when they were struggling, they should have been good. They had good players, stadium, funds, history, atmosphere, or not. Yeah, you know what I mean, right? They should be good. They have all the ingredients to be good. So when they are bad, that's what makes it 10 out of 10 great quality banter. Like it's just unreal. And I think Tottenham maybe not Tottenham to a lesser extent because they suck, but Arsenal fans are experiencing this as well with both Tottenham and Chelsea both being fucking awful. So yeah, there you go. I think kudos to them. But then again, you bottled the league, so shut your faces. Yeah, there's no fairy tales in football. You can't celebrate for too long because football will strike you down ASAP, Rocky. It's just one of those things that football does. One of those things that football does. But yeah, Spurs are funny. Spurs are great crack, and they're also. I can't wait to speak about them when the season's done, or speak about them pre-season of next year. Because that's going to be great banter. Also, speaking of which, how many episodes do I have left? That's a great question. How many episodes do I have left? Quickly, before we move on. So there's 1, 2. Wait. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Oh, 4 left. Yeah, 4 left and then 1 at the end of the season, I think. Yeah, 4 left and then 1 at the end of the season to do wrap up. No, to do Champions League review and then wrap up. So 5, 6 left, I think, give or take. So yeah, that's interesting. And I've done so many podcasts this year because we had a World Cup in between as well. And I did 2 emergency podcasts. Oh, goodness me. We haven't done an emergency podcast in a while. I think if a certain Mauricio Pochettino becomes manager of Chelsea, we could be doing an emergency podcast, but I digress, and it's a great segue onto let's speak about Chelsea. If Chelsea, so the point I've written down on my run sheet, and I won't touch on this for too long because it's touching on a quarter of an hour or 3/4 of an hour. Could Chelsea get relegated? could genuinely, could Chelsea go down? I don't want to live in a world where that's a thing. I don't. I really don't want to live in a world where that's a thing. But they can't. Can't we? Nah, there's no way, right? I mean, we've lost our last 5 in the league. Sorry, we've lost 3 out of our last 4 in the league. We've got Arsenal, so it's quite funny, right? It's quite funny because we play 5 games left in the league. 4 of them are against the current top 4. 4. That can't be right. No, I'm mistaking it. I can't read. No, I can read. We play 6 games left. We have 6 games to go. 4 of them are against the current top 4, and the other 2 are against sides battling relegation. we actually might not pick up a point for the rest of the season. Like, there is a serious possibility. A serious possibility that Chelsea don't pick up a point for the rest of the season. Meaning Chelsea could theoretically finish the league on 39 points. Does that get you relegated? Let's look at history. Let's look at history. Last year 39 points keeps you up. The year before, 39 points keeps you up. It makes you 17th, but it keeps you up. The season before that, 39 points keeps you up. So it looks to be 39 points is the safe number. It used to be 40. 39 points in season 18-19 keeps you up. It used to be 40 points as well, remember. And that is the magical number. In 17-18, 39 points keeps you up. 16-17, 39 points keeps you up. So it would be a massive kind of what the hell moment. In 15-16, 39 points kept you up by 2 points. 14-15 keeps you up. 13-14 keeps you up. 12-13 keeps you up but keeps you up. 11-12. When was the last time 40 points was the number you had to get? Keeps you up in 11-12. 10 and 11. 10, okay, so 10, so season 2010-2011. 39 points. 2 teams got relegated on 39 points. Blackpool got relegated winning 10 games and losing. Blackpool got relegated. Let me write this down so I can compare it to Chelsea's current kind of score. So 18th place was Birmingham. With 8 wins, 15 draws, 15 losses, with 37 scored and 58 against. And 19th was Blackpool. With 10 wins, 9 draws, 19 losses, with 55 scored and 78 against. Currently, Chelsea sit with 10 points, with 10 wins, 9 draws, 13 losses, with 30 goals scored, 35 against, with a -5 goal difference. Blackpool finished that season with a -22 goal difference. Birmingham finished that season with a -21 goal difference, if my math and my comprehension skills are correct. So it would take a massive failure for Chelsea to go down. Also considering the fact that Leicester need to get 10 points from the next 5 games, because Leicester are on 29 points and they sit 18th. Leicester would have to get 10 points off Everton. Doable. Fulham, maybe doable considering they don't really have a lot to play for. Liverpool, probably not. Newcastle, away, probably not. And West Ham at home, definite possibility. So out of their 5 games to go, they need 10 points out of their 5, meaning they need to get points in at least 3 games. And that is... No, they need to get points in at least 4 games. In at least 4 games out of their next 5, they need to get points. Assuming they beat Everton, 3. They beat Fulham, 6. They beat West Ham, 9. They need a point off Liverpool and Newcastle. Let's just assume they get a point in each. That'd take them to 11. That would put them on 31 points. They'll put them on 41 points. And then you got to look at Forest or Leeds to pick up 3 wins out of the next 4 games. And obviously West Ham as well. I'd be shocked, right? I'd be shocked. But the fact that Chelsea are in this position is is a shambles. But there is a genuine possibility that Chelsea don't pick up another point for the rest of the season. And it would be down to Forest. It'd be down to Forest to pick up what are we talking? What did I say? It'd be down to Forest to pick up. It'd be down to Forest to pick up 10 points from 4 games. They verse Chelsea and Arsenal, so that's not going to happen. So Chelsea aren't going to go down, because Forest aren't getting a point at against Arsenal. So Chelsea aren't going down, but it was a good experiment to see if they could. And the fact that we're in this position in the first place is a disgrace. So yeah, there you go. As my very amateur note taking, that's probably not going to focus. And it's going to stuff up the lighting. Or it does focus. Here we go. Look at my I don't know what this is up here, but that's all my note taking right there. So that's all my note taking on this piece of paper. As the camera goes back into focus, we're live, and I'm very yellow today as well. By the way, I've changed the lighting on the camera. Is it better or worse? Let me know in the comments. Quickly change the lighting. So I don't know if it's better or worse. I was really yellow the other day when I was filming something, so I decided to put the white filter on it to make me less yellow. I'm aware that sounds really weird. I'm fully aware. Don't worry. Alright. I feel like I've just spoken about the same 3 topics. I feel like I've spoken about the same 3 topics that I spoke about last week. Is that correct? Am I correct in saying that? Let's go back to last week's episode. Oh no, I spoke about Wrexham, not Chelsea. There you go. All right, let's finish things up with some A-League chat. I was going to speak about Leeds and Brighton, but that was more if I had time. Quick summation. Leeds are a rabble. De Zerbi and Brighton are very good. Danny Welbeck is the best striker in the league. All right, let's move on to A-League chat. And by A-League chat, I mean let's preview the final series, hey? So let's preview the final series, and we'll touch on the last day quickly before we move on to that. Last day shenanigans was pretty interesting. A lot of spots up for grabs, but it was 4 games on the Saturday. Nothing really exciting happening. Central Coast demolish Adelaide at Coopers, which is a great result for them. That put them up to 2nd, gives them the week off, which is insane because no one thought that they would be able to do this. Everyone fell into the Central Coast Mariners trap. I'm looking at predictions on Twitter. People had them finishing 9th and 10th and shit. So considering they lost Qual as well halfway through the year as well, it's quite impressive. City beat Western Sydney through a 93rd minute goal from Marco Tilio. He's a baller. I really like Marco Tilio. Just a shame that he plays for the scum. But anyways, 3-peat for them. Spoke about them last week. All right, let's preview the finals quickly, and then we'll wrap up. So also briefly, if you want a full kind of proper preview, there will be a preview with me and two glorious contributors from the Inner Sanctum on the Inner Sanctum's YouTube channel at some point this week. I want to say Wednesday morning. Meaning this would have been out. I want to say Wednesday morning. If it's not Wednesday morning, it will be Friday morning. Or Thursday afternoon. We'll go Thursday afternoon. If it's not Wednesday morning, it'll be Thursday afternoon. If you want a little bit more of a discussion about the A-League final series, doing a preview with myself and 2 beautiful people from the Inner Sanctum who will be joining me to just be chatting shit, having a chinwag about the finals. Yeah, that's going to be good. So head on over to the Inner Sanctum YouTube channel if you want to see that. But if I'm going to do it myself, I'm just going to steal the run sheet that I made for the for that video. But so obviously we've got first Melbourne City on 55 points. They automatically go through and versus the lowest ranked winner from week 1. Central Coast are on 44 points, automatically through to the semis, and they versus the highest ranked winner of week 1. They versus the highest ranked winner of week 1. Yes, I do. That makes sense. Adelaide United finished 3rd on 42 points. They versus 6th place Wellington Phoenix. Western Sydney finished on 41 points in 4th place versus 5th place Sydney Derby in an elimination final. That's going to be good. I really hope people... the boycott... can I quickly just say the boycott scenario... I don't even know. Boycott the grand final. That's all I'm going to say. Do whatever you want with the final series. Boycott the grand final. Please. Sydney obviously will verse Western Sydney in the obviously the semi-final. Of course, they finished 5th in the elimination final, they finished 5th with 38 points, and then Wellington finished 6th with 35 points, 3rd place. Adelaide United in that quarter final or elimination final. The potential week 2 fixtures are Melbourne City versus either Western Sydney, Sydney or Wellington, and Central Coast versus either Adelaide or the 2 Sydney clubs. So Central Coast can't versus Wellington and Melbourne City can't versus Adelaide, meaning there is a potential for a Melbourne City versus Adelaide final. Also potential for a Central Coast versus Melbourne City final, and also Western Sydney versus Adelaide finals of potential as well. Anyway, that's what it is. I think anyway. I can't do permutations right now. I'm a bit tired. Anyways, if we're going to preview it, let's just give predictions, shall we? As we always do. In the first 2 games, I think it's one-legged elimination final, which I think is good. I don't really like the 2-legged semis. I think they're alright, but I don't really like the 2-legged semis, in all honesty. Look, I would love to see a Melbourne City Adelaide, right? Realistically, as long as one of the New South Wales clubs don't make it, that's great. Realistically, one of the Sydney clubs, Central Coast, they're a bit cute, aren't they? Right? They're a cute fan base. So I'm not really fussed about them. I like in an ideal world, Melbourne City versus Adelaide United is the grand final. In an ideal world, for boycott's sake, and also I reckon for quality of game sake as well. Central Coast as well. Pretty much any of the top 3. If the grand final can be made up of any of the top 3, sweet. Don't really want the rest in, to be honest. So for that reason, in week 1, I'm going to go Adelaide to beat Wellington. I think that will happen. Adelaide will beat Wellington. I think Western Sydney versus Sydney. We'll give scoreline as well. I reckon Adelaide will win 2-0. I reckon Adelaide will win 2-0. Is it? Yeah, it's the finals aren't in Sydney, are they? It's just the grand final, right? I'm not imagining that. Yeah, it's at Coopers. Yeah, sick. So obviously I know Adelaide lost 4-1 in their most recent game, but we'll go. Who's going to score? I'll give scores. I'll give goal scorers as well. Goodwin will score. And Goodwin will score. And Blackwood off the bench, maybe? Or... Nah, Jovanovic. Jovanovic will score. Would that be the youngest ever A-League Finals goal scorer? It might be. 17. Has anyone younger than 17 scored an A-League Men's Final Series? We'll go Jovanovic as well. So 2-0. And then Western Sydney versus Sydney. This is going to be... I'm so annoyed about what's happened because this is the first Sydney derby as a final. I'm pretty sure, anyway. And I'm annoyed it's under these circumstances where the action off the pitch is probably more important or going to be given more of the spotlight, especially on socials. However, I'm going to go with... Look, I hate Sydney more than I hate Western Sydney. I know more Sydney supporters, though. Western Sydney will win. Western Sydney will win 1-0 Brandon Borrello in extra time. That's what I'll do. For some reason, I feel like Borrello's injured. He's not injured, is he? No, he scored in the last game. Why did I think he's injured? Did he get subbed off? No, he missed a penalty. I don't know why I thought he was injured. I second-guessed myself. Western Sydney will win. So that means Adelaide or Western Sydney win, which means it is Central Coast versus Adelaide. Is that correct? Yes, the highest ranked winner of week 1. Yeah, so Central Coast versus Adelaide and then Melbourne City versus Western Sydney. Yeah. Two-legged affair. Central Coast and Melbourne City are away in the first leg and home in the second. I'm going to go with Melbourne City beat Western Sydney 3-1 on aggregate. They lose the first leg away from home 1-0, and they come back to Amy Park and win 3-0. And that two-legged game between Central Coast and Adelaide is going to be mental. First leg at Coopers, Adelaide are going to get revenge, and they're going to win 3-0. And they're going to take it back to Central Coast, and Central Coast are going to win 2-0. Adelaide are going to scrape through by the skin of their teeth, by the absolute skin of their teeth. It's going to be scrappy. And then City versus Adelaide final. Give me City are going to win it, aren't they? Yeah, City are going to win. I want Adelaide to win, but City are probably going to win it. Who cares? Fucking shit sport, shit league, boycott the grand final, etc. But no, City will probably win, and they'll be deserved winners because they're too good. I hate it so much. Anyway, let's move on. Let's finish things up with preview of the week, and then let's go, and I can get this uploaded 7:00 p.m. Australian time. There we go. All right. Let's go. Yeah. Leicester Everton. That's a big game for the relegation scrap. Of course, the result will be known as this comes out. So who really cares? Let's just go Leicester 1-0. Oh no, 2-2 draw. Why not? Arsenal Chelsea. Like I said, Chelsea will win. Liverpool Fulham and City West Ham. Liverpool and City will win. Brighton United. Brighton will win. Obviously, given my preview for the A-League games, and then no other real exciting game. Newcastle Arsenal. Newcastle are going to put more nails in the coffin, I think. And then Champions League semi-finals are back next week, which we'll cover. Sweet. That is all. Thank you all very much. Just tick over an hour. Thank you all very much for joining me once again. Very much enjoyed this episode. I did enjoy it very much. I was very conscious of the fact that I was enjoying it halfway through, especially when we start to speak about the definition of perfection, which I think is the most quintessential kind of nerdy talk when it comes to football. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to 2 Foot Tackle Podcast. We are 5 away from 400. It would mean the world if that could happen anytime soon. That'd be great. It's free. It's free. It doesn't cost anything, does it? Like the podcast, notification bell. 2 Foot Tackle Podcast on TikTok and Instagram. 2FTPod on Twitter. Linktree link in the bio of both Twitter and Instagram. Audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and Spotify. That is all. See you guys next week. I'll be back again, as I always am. Stay well. Stay safe. See you next week. Goodbye.